So I was here for 75 days and then came back and had him the second time. And I think it was just the shame and the embarrassment, I guess, almost, that I wasn't ready to face of, I mean, because it was really hard for me to walk back in these doors the second time. It was humiliating. Like, especially, I mean, because I was only gone for a week, you know, and after spending that long here and then being gone for a week and coming back, um, I remember like on the way here, because I went to Austin, so on the way back from Austin to here, I was super like, I'm ready, I can't wait to get there. And then we turned on the street and I was like, oh, Jesus, Lord, you know, like I was like, I'm not ready for this, I can't go in. And whenever the RCs came out, and like they're nothing but welcoming, you know, like the shame and embarrassment is all self-induced, you know, like no one is looking at you any type of way, like anything like that. And so I think it was just that I wasn't ready, because he was like, what happened? You know, it was very like telling me that I messed up, and it's what I needed to hear, you know, because I knew that I messed up, but I didn't know where. And with the therapy that I've gotten this time, it's been a lot more processing, you know, like I've processed a lot more with him because he pries, you know, to where some therapists don't really pry, you know, tell him what you want to tell him, but then, I mean, sometimes you need that therapy that it's like, you know, keep it going, keep asking questions. And so I feel like leaps and bounds further along than I did last time. And I've only been here for 34 days, but last time I was, you know, 75 days. I feel much stronger this time compared to the entire time last time because of the therapy I've been getting. Like I said, it was just like, I was very embarrassed because, like, I mean, him and I had a really good relationship last time I was here and talked a lot when I left. And so when I came back, it was like, oh God, you know, like I have to go see someone who, like, you know, I have a close relationship with. And I mean, it was coming from a place of, you know, love, like him telling me that I messed up, and it was like I was kind of getting it from all angles, and so I just wasn't ready to deal with it. You know, I wanted at that time to be coddled, and I wanted to be coddled, but I didn't need to be coddled. You know what I mean? I needed someone to be on my ass. It took a big minute, like, for me to really have my head back in it, you know, because I mean, I was only gone for a week, but I did some damage, you know, and I came back and I wasn't in it. I didn't want to be here. I was angry that I was here, to the point where I mean, I didn't go to groups. I didn't talk to my therapist. I didn't talk to my case manager. I literally laid in bed and went to all 3 meals, you know, like, and watched TV, like, because I was angry, and I wasn't angry at anybody but myself. And so having to go through the process again of like surrendering and like, you know, admitting that like, okay, I'm powerless over my disease, you know, like it's not easy, especially whenever you just spent so long here and you came back a week later. Like, it's not easy, like, because I mean, especially when I left, everyone had such high expectations for me and they had such faith in me, and you know, I messed up. And I think that's what I had to finally like tell myself and like understand, was that like, okay, I messed up. It's not the end of the world. Like, the key here is that I came back. You know, a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And so I had to accept that fact. And then I was like ready for like, you know, the therapy side of it. A lot of the staff here is in recovery, so they get it, you know, like they understand, like, I mean, my mood swings, like, it's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? And not just for myself, for the other people here too. Like, our mood swings, it's like, the wind could blow the wrong way and I'm pissed, you know, like, I'm angry. I'm angry because we're having chicken enchiladas for lunch and not, you know, spaghetti or whatever. And so the staff is very receptive of that. They understand, like, our mood swings are back and forth. And so if you want the space, they're definitely going to give you the space. But if you're in a place where like you're angry and you're willing to talk about it, there's not one staff member here that won't sit down and listen to you. So I appreciate highly that aspect. So when I left here, I went to Austin for sober living, and I thought, like, you know, they say in like AA, like, change your people, places, and things, and I was like, okay, I'll do all of that. I'll change my people, my places, and my things. But the thing is I changed all of those things because I've never been to Austin. I don't know anyone in Austin. And everyone was like, oh, the recovery is so great down there. Like, you're going to do great. And I didn't really think about the fact that, like, I can change all of those things, but I look in the mirror and I'm still there, you know? So, like, if I'm not inside changing myself, then nothing's gonna change. You could put me in the middle of the Sahara Desert, and if I want something, I'm gonna find it, if I want it. So, like, you have to completely surrender, you know? And, like, either you want recovery or you don't want recovery. And I think that's a really big, I would say it's a really big dilemma for a lot of people, you know, like we know that the things that we do is wrong, but it's so much easier to make a bad decision than it is to work for recovery, you know, because recovery it's hard, you know, it's not a destination, it's a journey, and it's ongoing, you know, like a lot of people always say like, oh, I'm cured, or I've arrived, and it's like, no, you never arrive, you know, you're never cured. Like, you could be sober for 25 years and you're gonna, if you pick up a drink, it's gonna, you release your addiction all over again, you know? So I've only been using for 2 years. I'm very like new into it, you know? Growing up, I was obese. I used to be 314 pounds, and I had weight loss surgery, and when I had my weight loss surgery, like I couldn't eat as much. So I lost that coping mechanism. And so I looked for outside validation from anyone I could get it from. And so it was a different guy every day, a different, you know, I was constantly seeking love from other people. And I was like, my family tells me they love me. I have a great relationship with my family, but they're my family. They have to say that. And I didn't realize at the time, like, your family doesn't have to say that. Like, there's a lot of people that don't have that family support. And so, growing up, like, being obese, I had extreme depression, like, I just didn't fit in. Being gay and fat, it was just, in a small town, it was not good, you know, it was not great. And I met a guy, and he just gave me everything I wanted, you know, and it was, I knew that he was an addict, he was sober at the time, and he relapsed, and I always told him, I'm like, if you relapse, I have to go, you know, I can't do that. And at the time he relapsed, I was too invested. I couldn't, and I didn't want to go back to sleeping alone and being alone all the time. I wasn't ready to do that. I thought that it would be more detrimental to myself if I broke up with him rather than trying opiates with him. And I mean, when I took my first opiate, I was like, yeah, this is it. I've arrived, you know, like my depression was gone. I felt like I fit in, like it was everything I ever was looking for, you know, and until it wasn't, you know. It's progressive, but for me, it was very quick. Like, I mean, it took me, I used to be a flight attendant for American Airlines. It took me 2 weeks before I lost my job, my house, and my car. Like, it was, because it quickly went from prescription opiates to, oh, heroin is cheaper, let me do that. And then, so, I mean, I was only on prescription opiates for like a week, and then I went to heroin, and then it was like I went from doing this to doing that to, and then I was an IV user, and so it was very, the downhill spiral was very, very quick for me. I don't want to just do a little bit, I want it all, and I want to feel the best I can, and like I said, I'm very competitive, so like, I'm gonna be like, oh, you did that much, well, I'm gonna do this much, you know what I mean? Like, it's very not good. We fell out of love with each other, and it was very like using buddies, you know, like he had the money and I needed the money
the
in order
romance
to,
was no longer there.
yeah, I hated him. I couldn't stand him. Like, could not stand him. And he couldn't stand me. And like, to the point where I was like, I think he's trying to kill me. Like, it's weird. But like, it was just not, we were just using buddies. Like I said, he had the money and I needed the money, so I stayed with him. We were constantly bickering. We couldn't stand to be around each other. Like, it just, so, I mean, it was very early on that like, my love went from him to the drugs, you know, like I didn't care about him anymore. I cared about that. And that was all I cared about. I didn't care about my family. I mean, I did, but I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, it's very
when
like,
it came down to it.
Right. I would have sold my mom if I had to. I think the first time that I realized I was desperate was probably like 3 months into using, because I had already started like being an IV user. I'd already had my first overdose. And it was just very, like, I couldn't go home because I have a brother that's a drug addict. So I was like, if my mom sees me on opiates, she's gonna know. She's not stupid. She's gonna know I'm on opiates, and there goes, you know, there goes everything. And so I didn't go home for 3 months. I was living in motels, like, couldn't pay my car payment, couldn't pay anything for that matter, you know. And so I think the first time I realized I was desperate was whenever, I had to start like selling myself in order to get money. And like my ex being okay with that at the time, like being okay with me selling myself, you know, like it was like you're supposed to care about me, but you're okay with me, you know, selling myself. And so it was very sad for me. Like it was like everything I was ever looking for was a relationship. Like I always told myself growing up, like I'm gonna lose weight and I'm gonna get a boyfriend and I'm gonna be so happy. And I lost weight and I got a boyfriend and I was miserable. Like I was like, this is not what I was expecting, you know? It's sad. It really is. Like, I mean, I can look at pictures of myself from then and it's sad. Like, I got to the skinniest I've ever been. I went from being 314 to 165. Like, and for my height, I was tiny. Like, I looked sick. But I thought I looked good, you know? I was like, I look great, and I'm thriving, and I don't care about anything other than this, and I'm doing so good, and it was sad. It was very, like, and I would have never thought, like, for myself, like, because growing up, I have 3 older brothers, 2 of which are drug addicts, and so I've seen it since I was 10 years old, like, the disease of addiction. And so growing up, I was like, I will never ever do that to my family. I will never put my mom through that. I will never put my grandma through that. Like I couldn't, and I won't put myself through that, you know? And I mean, it took one split decision and meeting one person for me to, and you know, I'm very like, I hold myself like accountable, you know? Like he didn't force me to do anything. He didn't force me to try drugs. But he introduced me to it, you know. It was my own decision. I'm an adult and I make my own decisions, of course. But he introduced me to it, you know. And so it was, and I mean, I have like a felony drug charge now. So I went from like being an American Airlines flight attendant to being a felon, you know, for drug possession. So it was really sad. I tell myself that like I'm not alone in this, like, and I find myself a lot of times comparing myself to other people. Not just like physically or, you know, personality wise, but like also like drug addiction wise. Like I'm like, oh, at least I never did that, you know, or at least I wasn't that bad. But like the fact of the matter is that like we're all sick, you know, like no matter, depending on like if you sell yourself to get drugs or you go to 25 different doctors to get your drugs, you know, we all suffer from the disease of addiction. And that's the main like message I have to tell myself. Like just because I never got to that point or just because they never got to my point doesn't mean we're any less or any better than the other, you know. Like we're all in the same boat.